Good morning. Thank y'all for joining us on this Friday morning. We are here to talk about how a residential program can impact the experiences of African American males. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Tyris Gillis. I'm the community director at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the oldest public university in the nation. We have to always add that on there. And I know you're probably wondering, why is this man from the Blue School here with this red presentation and talk about a program at NC State? Well, the last 2 years, I was a graduate student and a residence director at NC State. So,
everybody, my name is Qwen Ballard. I kind of took Todd's position as he left, and I work for the CJ, which you introduced himself in a second. Once again, my name is Qwen Ballard. I'm a resident director over at Avon Fair Hall on campus, and I'm a grad student in my first year in the higher education administration program.
Good morning. My name is Curtis Jackson. I go by CJ. I'm the assistant director for Southeast Campus, so in my responsibilities, I oversee this initiative specifically, and have worked closely with Ty and Qwen in the past to make the gains that we have so far. So we hope that you enjoy this presentation and have any questions.
So what we are talking about today, we are going to provide an overview and a framework of the central components of the Black Male Initiative at NC State. We are going to review and discuss the ACUHO educational grant process, which we applied for and received, and it helped propel, and talk about how it helped propel this program forward. And we're also going to identify some methods for best practice and implementation. So if you wanted to start something like this on your campus, or if you already have, we'll have a discussion about that. Okay, so let's get started. Well, also, while we're talking today and we tell the story of how this program started, we want you to think about on your campus and populations that you may want to target and reach, and how you can do that. Okay, so just keep that in mind today as we tell you our story. And Qwen is going to start us off.
So we want to start y'all off with a little institutional profile so y'all can kind of get an idea of state. So it's a land grant institution, very STEM heavy. They focus a lot on engineering. It's a predominantly white, it's a PWI, so a predominantly white institution. There's about 34,000 students, maybe a little bit over that. We're focusing on the numbers from 2013 because that's when this initiative started. Some of the numbers have changed, but for the most part, they haven't changed too much. So some of the numbers are very similar. African American males only make up, or African Americans only make up about 6.8 of the student enrollment. So that's men and women together. There's about 8,000 students living on campus, and around that 350 Black males living on campus. I think one of the interesting things about my experience at NC State, I went to NC State for undergrad. I really enjoyed it. I love the school and institution. So many resources and so many things to offer. But one of the things that I wish I would have known about, or I wish I had more around me, is people that kind of look like me. So sometimes I struggled when certain things happened in the news or certain things happened in the media. I had no one to really talk to. I didn't have that community that I really needed. So that's why we're kind of here today.
So a few years ago, University Housing at NC State was looking to increase the number of students that they had participating in their villages or their living learning communities. They wanted to do this by two ways. So first, expand the current living learning communities that they had on campus, but also creating new ones. So the Avon Ferry Complex, which is a renovated motel style, has 4 buildings with a central building that contained community desks, offices, and things of that matter. It was one of the only communities that didn't have any kind of program at the time. It housed first years and upper class students because upper class students could reclaim spaces there, and also historically had a large population of Black males. In fact, it was second only to the apartment style residence halls on campus, and it had the largest amount of first year Black males. So that's one of the reasons why this particular community was chosen. What we know about Black males, so we know that their college completion rates are lowest among both ethnic groups and among all ethnic groups and both sexes. Students who experience a sense of belonging that works with their academic motivation and achievement, and also for Black males in general, GPA, persistence in college, graduation rates are all connected to their social support. So in fall 2013, some stars kind of aligned. After all of these talks had happened, a Black male, myself, was hired at David Fair as a residence director. So Hazel Andrew, who was the assistant director at the time, and had been having all these conversations, he tasked me with pulling a roster of the building. And so I pulled out, we had about 30 to 40 Black males that were living in the building at the time. I reached out to them and we started to have a meeting. They were very conversational based at first. We talked about their experiences being on campus at NC State. We talked about their experience living in David Fair. We talked about how that looked as them being a Black male and navigating that space. And the attendance was low. We only had about 10 guys that came to that first meeting, and we really only had about 5 to 7 guys that were consistent throughout the year. And most of those were RAs. 3 of those males were RAs, but then that's when we really realized the importance of the RA buy-in. Every other member of that group came because of either indirectly or directly because of the RA. And so we realized that the RA buy-in to this group was very important. Programmatic measures. We had a resume workshop where we brought in Dr. Arnold Bell from the Career Development Center at NC State. He was a Black male and he taught them, worked through them with their resumes. We had weekly study halls in the spring. I would be in there studying with them. And then the highlight of that year was a trip to DC. So we toured the Holocaust Museum. We got to see the national monuments like the MLK Memorial and the Lincoln Memorial. And we also got to tour White House. So leading into the second year, that summer, Hazel tasked me, we were like, okay, let's really provide some structure to this group so we can move forward and help it grow. So that summer, NC State had an intern, Justin Shelley, who's now a graduate student at the University of Tennessee. And we really looked at making learning outcomes and mission statements and the purpose and really provide a framework for this initiative. We really did some research, read a lot of Sean Harper that year, and really tried to see how we can help develop this initiative. Marketing efforts was a big piece. So now we almost had a product to sell to students, because we can say, this is what we did, this is what we plan to do. And so we created a brochure and we sent out personal letters to each Black male that was moving into Ada Ferry that year. And I wanted to send it home like 2 weeks before they came, because I wanted their parents and guardians to say, hey, you need to go do this when you get to NC State this fall. And that worked, because in that letter, we planned out a kickoff event. So we had about 24 guys show up to the first event. Only about 14 to 16 stayed consistent throughout the year, but that was a huge jump from the first year. We hired a student mentor that helped with programming and helped with advertising. We made some partnerships across campus, and we also had more consistent gatherings. We started meeting every 2 to 3 weeks, and these were themed, either talking about wellness. We brought back an RA from the first year that did a financial session. And so we really worked to make the initiative be more. And it cultivated in spring 2014 with what we call at the time AAMI weekend. And basically it was a service component where we took students to a local Raleigh boys club and we worked with the kids, play games with them, things like that. We had a social component where we went bowling and out to dinner, and then the professional development piece, which was funded by the ACUHO grant that we were rewarded. So the ACUHO educational grant, what is it? It's a grant up to $500 that the ACUHO Educational Programs Committee gives out every year. I was sitting with my supervisor at the time, Lisa LaBarbara Muscodi, and she said, Ty, we should apply for this grant. And so me and her sat and we looked at what type of program that we can do. So what the grant requires is you need to identify a target audience for this program. You also need to identify learning outcomes for the program that you will put on, identify any partners that you were working with, have a program description, a budget, identify if you're going to use other funding sources, any type of assessment, and also identify best practices relating back to the mission and values of your department institution, and also the mission and values of ACUHO. Our proposal was P's and Q's, which was an etiquette dinner. And basically we hired a caterer that came in and catered a 3-course meal plus hors d'oeuvres. The guys dressed up very nicely. We had someone come from the Career Development Center that taught them etiquette and networking. And what the students gained. So they told us they learned how to better present themselves in these business type of situations. They told us we gave them great tips on how to network and also etiquette, because most of them had not gone through sitting through a course meal before. But what they felt like we should have did better at helping them learn was methods to stay calm and relaxed during business meetings and how to keep that composure. Also how to navigate different types of settings. So had it been smaller groups or larger groups where they need to operate in a different manner. And also how should they conduct themselves even if the host is conducting in a different manner? Should they act like the host is acting, or should they just stay consistent no matter what the host is doing? So those are some great things that came up out of that program. Sadly, that was my last program with this group, but this grant propelled them forward, and Qwen and CJ is going to talk about all the great things they are currently doing and plan to do.
So now we kind of just wanted to let y'all know kind of what we're doing right now. So this is the mission statement. The Black Male Initiative establishes a sense of community and connectedness through social bonding activities, academic and professional workshops, engagement and cultural trips, which provided Black men with the skills needed to persist graduation from North Carolina State University. I know that's very long, but there's a reason why we crafted it and we came up with this mission statement. CJ worked with Dr. Davis and some other people. They pretty much formed a committee on campus. So through administration and faculty and myself, we pretty much got together and we crafted this, and we wanted to put a little theory behind it. So if you look on your sheet, this is kind of what we wanted y'all to see. So we kind of want to give y'all a handout so y'all can understand a little bit more about that. So for Yoso's model, culture of wealth model, there are 6 capital aspects, almost 6 aspects of it, but we focus on 3 capitals. So the main 3 that we put in this to back up our mission statement and to kind of guide everything we do. We put the aspirational capital up there, which pretty much refers to the hopes and dreams of the student, right? We want to make sure that they have hopes and dreams, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to help keep them alive and push them forward. Social capital, as y'all know, it's very important to have that community and that network that you can find. So who are administrators, who are faculty and staff that maybe might look like me? Who are peers that I can relate to and talk about my experiences when we grow together? And then the navigational capital, which refers to the skills of maneuvering through social institutions. And this skill set empowers students to remove that may need to maneuver through any type of unsupportive or hostile environment, right? So if they're on campus and they're in class and something might happen where a microaggression is given out, who can they talk to in the community? Who can they go to kind of, talk about some things? But not only talk about it, how do you learn how to maneuver through these things? And some of the benefits that y'all can see up here listed, you really want to empower the individual. So we want to make sure that they're coming in and that they're growing and that they're learning, but they're also empowering themselves through the community and support that we're giving them. We want to focus on their strengths and experiences as a student of color. So we want to make sure as a student that we know what their strengths are and try to figure out how can we use that to help propel them forward. How can we use that in a positive way to help out themselves and to help out others? And we also use Yoso's model just pretty much as a framework to help view students' colors of experiences and access from a strength-based perspective.
All right, so now we're going to transition. So Qwen talked about, did a good job of talking about kind of how we recrafted the mission statement and refocused our efforts or what we want to focus on as a result of this community. And so With that, we decided to also shift the name of the program from the African American Male Initiative to the Black Male Initiative, because we thought that the Black Male Initiative is more inclusive of the students that we want to recruit, as opposed to African American really only refers to people who identify as African American. So we had to ask ourselves a question of who are we excluding by naming it the African American Male Initiative? What different African cultures are we not including that we want to include by having it named that? And so that was the reason for the name change. Secondly, we needed to look at our marketing. And so our marketing had done a great job of working with us to create a website, but the website was kind of hard to find. And so if I was an incoming Black male student looking for a community like this, and I didn't know that it exists, if I didn't know the exact name of the initiative, I wouldn't be able to look up information on it beforehand. So we've changed that. We updated our webpage to reflect our current mission statement and kind of the things that we do now. But we also, the webpage has been moved to the same web pages that the rest of our Live and Learning communities are on. And so that gives incoming students and parents the opportunity to look at the initiative and really identify if this is the place for them, and learn a little bit more about what we do, in addition to see who the staff is that's in charge of it now, and maybe reach out and ask questions if they have any. So if you go to the web page, and the web page and our Facebook page should be on the bottom of your sheet. So if you go to that web page, you'll see that myself and Qwen are both on the web page. We're smiling, and our contact information is there. So we're ready to answer questions. The reason why we wanted to do this is because we began to have conversations at the beginning of the year in terms of how do we take this initiative to the next level. And so one of the things that we decided to do is we decided to pilot this initiative as a village starting in the fall of 2016. So starting next fall, we have designated 38 spaces in Avon Ferry on the second floor for men that want to participate in this program, to have a space where they can collectively get together and really build that community that we're hoping to build. And so this was a big step in terms of seeing if it was to sustain as a village, but also giving us the opportunity to really, like I said, continue to take this program to the next level and begin to solve some of the issues, at least at NC State, in terms of how do we support our Black male students. So a couple of the activities that we do are listed below. The first one I want to talk about is our cultural trips. So our cultural trips are intended to be transformative experiences for our students. And so we have a couple of our students here with us today, and we'll give them an opportunity to talk a little bit later about their experiences with the initiative. But our cultural trips are really meant to kind of hit on those three capitals that Qwen spoke about. And so this past cultural trip that we just took in January, we went to Atlanta, Georgia. The first day of the trip, we spent the day at the Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark Atlanta campuses, getting a tour of the campuses, learning about the student activism that is occurring on those campuses and has occurred on those campuses, but also really having some time to sit down and talk with some of the Black men on those campuses about what makes this environment, their environment in Morehouse, so special. And I think that was impactful and important for our students, who majority of them at the time that attended the trip with us are returning to the community next year. But that was important for them to understand what do they want to see this initiative, where do they want to see this initiative go? What characteristics do they think the people in the initiative need to have? And how do they create that community, that supportive community for the Black male students coming in? So that conversation was good. The guys also had an opportunity to talk to a faculty member at Morehouse who engaged them in a discussion on entrepreneurship and the importance of that entrepreneurship and putting back into your community has on providing opportunities for people who share similar identities to you. The next day, we got them up early in the morning, and they were excited. But we took them to the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. And so the students had an opportunity to kind of walk through the museum and learn about the history of different Black leaders, male and female, that had an impact that paved the way for them to be there today. And that was a powerful experience, especially when, so in Atlanta, Georgia, in that specific museum, they have an exhibit where you can sit down. The exhibit is intended to simulate the Greensboro lunch sit-ins. And so the students had an opportunity to sit down at that lunch counter. They were asked to close their eyes and put their hands on the counter as they listen to recordings of someone talking to them as if they were sitting in that sit-in. And so that was a powerful thing for them to experience, because I don't know about the rest of them, but for me, that was really the first time that when you watch videos and stuff like that, you're like, man, that's terrible. But hearing the voices, feeling the recordings, like feeling like somebody was breathing in my ear, feeling like my chair was vibrating from the chairs being kicked, and it was a really powerful experience. And just the opportunity to kind of see them, the faces of the members that were able to attend once they got done with that exhibit, and the discussions that we had afterwards were really powerful and transformative. And the final part of the trip is we went to the MLK Memorial site, got an opportunity to take a picture on the birth home of Dr. Martin Luther King, in addition to sit in the original Ebenezer Baptist Church and hear a sermon that Dr. King gave, which included his eulogy. So, I mean, that experience kind of brought everything back together and really made the trip impactful for our guys. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is something that we just concluded this weekend, is our For the Love of Education Academy. And then the purpose behind this academy is that to bring prospective NC State students or students who want to attend NC State to campus and give them the opportunity to experience what it feels like to be a student on NC State campus. And so the students that attended this past weekend were all Black males, and the members of this organization engaged those Black males at various points throughout the day, from participating in team builders with them, to engaging with them in classroom settings where we had two professors, well, one professor and one staff person come out and conduct lessons for them, to social events, to real talk conversations, and different things like that. And so it really gave these students, high school, late high school, to some community college. We had a community college come from Charlotte. Really gave these students an opportunity to experience what it feels like to be a Black male student at NC State, and the support that they will have once they're done. Because of that program, I've had about, so I gave my personal cell phone number out to all the guys that participated, and I had at least 5 to 7 guys just this week alone hit me up and say, like, hey, let me know what y'all doing, if there's any events that I can come to, because I want to stay connected, and I definitely want to attend NC State and be a part of this program. So that was a powerful piece, not only for myself and Qwen, who are currently running the program, but also for the men to run this program, the students, to see the impact that they really have on the lives of these students who aspire to be where they are. The final piece is this connection to the NC State and the local community. And so how we do that is we do that in a lot of different facets, but I'm gonna talk about 4 today. So the first way we do that is, Qwen talked about it a little bit, and Todd talked about it a little bit too, but by providing the men in this program an opportunity to give back to their community. So we have a very good relationship with the Boys Club of Raleigh, and go to volunteer, play with the kids, help them with homework, do art projects and different things of that nature. Another facet of this is being able to connect the students with faculty and staff at the institution. And so every year at the beginning of the year, we do some type of welcome powwow where we get a gist for the academic programs that the guys are coming in, aspiring to graduate from, and just different faculty and staff. And we invite them to that program because we want the faculty and staff, but more importantly, we want the members in our program, we want to give them the opportunity to develop organic and genuine relationships with faculty and staff. And so just really giving them the opportunity to see people who share similar identities to the ones they hold, giving them the opportunity to connect with those students in the event that they are struggling with something in the engineering program. I know exactly who is in the engineering program that I might be able to go to get assistance to kind of help me navigate through that thing. The third piece of this is next year we're looking to also reach out to a local high school and begin a mentorship program where we give these the men in our program an opportunity on a consistent basis to provide mentorship for students who are aspiring to be where they want to be. And so that's another way that we want to give back to the community. What that would look like is that these young men will be in charge of facilitating personal and professional development workshops for these high school students, and then have some social time with them at the end to kind of bond with them after that. And the final thing that I want to talk about is our BMI families. We understand that typically people develop relationships easily when there's a smaller group that they can be tied to. And so what we do is we ask the returning members and some of the RAs to assume leadership roles as family leaders. And so they're paired with anywhere from 4 to 5 students and asked to keep tabs with them over the course of the month. They get together once a month to conduct some type of social activity where they just have an opportunity to connect. But that also gives us an opportunity to kind of see where do we need to do a better job of supporting the members that are currently in our community. All right, so I kind of talked about the future plans. So next year, we have those 38 spaces set to the side. Our goal is to become an official live and learning village. That's what we call them at NC State. You may know them as communities on NC State's campus. We have 38 spaces set to the side for incoming first year students, current students that want to be a part of the initiative, and then our members that are a part of the initiative now can also come back and be a part of this as well. And then we want to continue to make those connections with the NC State and campus community. So continuing to look for ways to make those connections and really expose these guys, because our goal is to have them come into the community, really get them connected with the NC State campus to the point where they feel comfortable going out and navigating and serving in leadership roles within the community. Now, if they feel comfortable and they want to come back to the community, and they want to live in the community, as long as they're at state, as long as we got space, we encourage that. But I think that the important piece is really getting them comfortable to the point where they feel like connecting and they can begin to have a greater impact on the NC State community. And I talked a little bit about our mentor programs that we will be doing as well. So with this, I'll transition the presentation back to Qwen, and he'll touch on some stuff.
So we wanted to provide y'all with a couple of quotes from the students that actually participated in this. So I'll give you a second to kind of read this. And as you read this, I'll kind of talk about the picture up top. So the picture up top is actually when we went to Morehouse, we went to the library on the trip to Atlanta. And it was really cool because we got to see some, talked about, CJ mentioned, the student activism. So within the library, we walked through and we saw not only what happened as far as activism from, our leaders in the community and stuff like that, but we actually saw what the students did to impact the civil rights movement, which is really neat. It was really cool. I think a lot of us, I know including myself, we really weren't aware of Yes, we had people marching and freedom riders and all these people doing, helping out with the civil rights movement, but there was a lot of college students involved in it. And there was a lot of college students our age that looked like us to participate in it. So it was very influential and really important that I felt that we all got the chance to see that. It kind of empowered us and let us know what we exactly are capable of as a group. I thought that was really interesting. And I think that really got something out of it. So this is another one. And then the picture up top here, I think it was really cool. We also got to, in the museum, so Morehouse got to keep a lot of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s artifacts and his documents. So walking through, it was really cool. I think a lot of students that really enjoyed it, and they thought it was kind of funny because we got to see Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s report card. We got to see his grades and that type of thing. We got to see a lot of his documents that he actually wrote speeches on. We got to see the actual drafts of that. I think that was really interesting for the students to see as well. So in terms of assessment or kind of what we learned, so throughout the year, well, after the first semester, I kind of went through and I pulled up the average GPA, and I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about this. The average GPA is at 3.37. That's 3.37. So I'm really proud of the guys and all the hard work that they do. They do a lot. They spend a lot of time. I know we have study halls weekly, and we're actually going to increase that. We're going to start having study halls on Monday and Wednesday because we know some students might have class Monday night, that's when we usually have them. So we're trying to make sure we give everybody a chance to come together and study in a group, and hold each other accountable, and just push each other forward so they can continue to make that good GPA and they continue to advance throughout college. Another success we've seen are the workshops. So the workshops, they're really engaged. We always, or we try to spend a lot of time inviting people from outside of our community. So we reach out to faculty. We reach out to staff on campus. I know we talked that we had workshops on, financial literacy. Why is that important? So we had somebody from financial resources, a financial aid officer, kind of come to talk to us about that. We've also had a workshop on voter registration and voter information. So why is that important? What's happening in North Carolina? Why is this important to you? Why do you need to know about it? You need to be aware of all these different things that are going on. And I think they really appreciated that. And the last thing is just in general, personal growth. I feel like throughout this time here, and my time connecting with them and getting to know everybody on an individual basis, I really believe that we are making a change. We are helping them in some way or another. I think everybody might take something different away from it, but as long as they're getting something out of it while they're here, that's what we want. We want them to come in and we want them to grow. So when they leave, they'll be a better person and they can influence other people's lives for the better. Some areas of growth. We have two main ones we're trying to focus on right now. Just gaining visibility on campus. So this was started within university housing. However, there's a lot of places like the African American Cultural Center, the Multicultural Center. We have all these different organizations. I think we have over 600 organizations on NC State's campus. So I spend a lot of time, and CJ and Josh Leary, you and him speak in a minute. We spend a lot of time going out and letting people know that, hey, we're here. These are the things we're trying to do. These are the things we want to do in the community. We want to be involved. We want to help out. So we spending a lot of time this semester and last semester just going out and introducing ourselves, talking to people, trying to form the relationships within the community. And we're going to continue to do so. Another one is utilizing more campus resources. So we have a lot of campus resources at NC State and a lot of people that support us and back us up. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out to people within the respective colleges. We want to make sure that we're reaching out to faculty that advocate for us and support us 100%. I know soon I should be meeting with diversity coordinators at each respective college on NC State's campus and holding a discussion, and they're going to trying to find out what they can do to kind of help us propel this to the next level. So those are some kind of things we're focusing on.
So this last portion of the presentation, so you've heard the story about the BMI, the Black Male Initiative at NC State. So now we just want to open up to a group discussion about maybe there's populations on your campuses that you're trying to reach or have started doing work to reach. What are those best practices that y'all have found that have worked for you all? What are some challenges you have faced, things like that? So anybody want to open up the floor for anyone?
wants to contribute?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a graduate university. Had the opportunity to work. Started initiative very similar to our African American big challenges that we face, kind of that body from students and also the staff as well. Leads to burnout. Being a grad student, maybe another department under one person that's on the side, likely don't really have the time to invest or manpower to invest. So that's just amazing. It's hectic. Kind of dive down. Get out of work. Put all the documents together. Show bring some pictures down. All the different. My question for you all is how do y'all have to prevent burnout happening? This seems like there's only process. So how do you stay
I think the biggest thing that I can say was first, even just finding any student that was invested. So no matter if it was one or two, once I found those one or two students that was invested, we did the work to try to keep those students involved and help them draw in other students, because even as a grad student, they weren't connecting to me like they would to a peer. So once we found, and for us, it was an RA. So once we found that one RA, his name was Jalen Humans, he just connected everybody to us. So, and just perseverance. I think there were times where when only 3 people showed up to the study hall, I was feeling kind of down or things like that. But I had to keep in perspective that this is a work in progress. So it's not gonna start off with 24 people there. It is gonna be a building steps to get to that point. Hopefully that helps.
I think one more thing to kind of add on to that. So we have a student mentor position. So Josh Larry, he has a student mentor position. He actually works with me and helps to set up the program, reaching out, making these connections. So it's not just one person tackling it. You know, it's a collective effort between me, CJ, and a lot of other people trying to get things done and trying to make sure that we're providing these opportunities.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Daryl Chambers. I currently work at William Peace University as an area coordinator for housing and residence site. One of the challenges that I'm facing now, I did my undergrad and grad at HBCU. So basically, with that population, I was already put in the mentorship type of position just by being hired, because it's more relatability. HBCUs kind of push that initiative on you. So my transition of walking that line has been quite a challenge for me. I'm actually in the middle, and I told CJ this yesterday, writing a proposal to my school to start a Black Initiative mentorship program next year at Peace. Some of the challenges I think I'm going to face, I'm kind of worried about, is the fact that not only is it the PWI, but if you do not know the history of Peace was not co-ed until 2012. So I feel like I'm going against the grain twice, because they didn't even want males in periods. Now I'm about to come here and ask for a Black Initiative program if you get someone to do so. So I just wanted to know any tips for that transition that you might have, or any type of things or verbiage I need to stay away from that could seem offensive or might make it quite hard.
I think that, so from my personal opinion, I think that the research doesn't lie, and that can't be persuaded in terms of how serious this issue is. And so definitely having everything in line as it relates to the research piece of it. I think that we recognize we are very fortunate at NC State because we had a leadership team that the idea was created, and they got behind us and supported us on that, and continue to support us on that as our numbers grow and as our budget grows and different things like that. But I would say start small. Start small, like, so maybe it's a small group, and as you develop an identity, kind of like we shared today, then you position yourself to be at a place where you can continue to ask for more support and different things of that nature. I would definitely say having some type of plan is important in terms of like what 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 this program will serve. Um, you know, what are you hoping to come as a result of the program and different things like that will definitely be able to kind of help you. In addition to being willing to kind of take feedback from the leadership as well, as it relates to, what are their concerns and being able to kind of address those concerns that they may have or those areas of growth or, holes that they may see in what you providing. So really being able to kind of be open to having a dialogue with your leadership as well, and kind of see what are they seeing as the strengths, what are they seeing as this is what we need to think about or keep in mind. So, hand right there.
I just want to add to this. I know it's a class initiative, but what I've noticed is that most people in the actually do this work. So if you have women that want to support you, whether they are professors or whatever, so I think it's a good point to bring them into a conversation where to actually show them that this right hand actually goes through this. But I think it's really important to bring the impact. I think a lot of people lack the getting the support. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great point too, because a lot of the people that's behind the scenes working with our program are not solely Black males. A good majority of them are, but we also have a lot of people that represent different identities also working with the program. So one of our main faculty members that serve on our advisory council, Dr. Tiffany Davis, actually helped sit down with me and Qwen and a few other people and helped craft this mission statement, helped us identify these models that we follow. She even came in this past weekend after spending the entire week in Washington, D.C., reading essays and different things like that to come and teach a lesson for these guys. And so really utilize your stakeholders, like the young lady back there.
To go back to, you're talking about your plans for next year. Sorry, I'm Sarah Taylor with Federal State University. How are you planning with these 38 spaces that you have on hold? How are you planning to select and or bring in those students? Is there an application process? How does that look for you all moving forward?
Yeah, we do have an application process and it's live now. So the students would apply. We have 2 questions for them to ask, and those questions are really personal in basis. And so I think as long as they give some thought to it, I think they got a good chances of being a good applicant for the program. So this morning we also participated in this program called Experience NC State, where these are prospective students and their parents, so students that have already been accepted to the university. This gives us an opportunity to talk to these students and their parents about the initiative as well, face to face. And so that's another marketing tool that we're using. In addition to, like Qwen talked about, utilizing our campus partners to kind of get the word out there about the initiative, working with the admissions office and a few other people in different colleges, in addition to some of our live and learning villages on campus that are really kind of like a 1-year live and learning experience for students, because they have such high turnaround and such a high demand for students that want to stay in those communities that they really don't really have a 2nd-year process. And so utilizing partnerships with some of those communities to kind of try to see if we can find students that may be living in those communities that may want to be a part of this experience as well. So the marketing approach is really utilizing our campus partners, but we do have an application process. The acceptances are rolling basis. So as applications come in, me and Qwen review those applications and select students to be in those communities. And then once we have our 38 students in those communities, we'll work to do room assignments at that point in time.
What has been your, well, I'm Jerome, what has been your experience if you had any with the MPHC organizations? To get involved in this, because I would think that if you involve, national Black organizations in a program like this, they could, one, like get more funding or they could come in and initiative that they could push forward with people. Have you had any experience with them at all?
Not with MPHC organizations. We did work with, so there was a group out of our Office of Institution, out of NC State's Office of Institution Equity and Diversity, it's called Pax Pack, that was on campus, and it served the same population. So we did some work with them, and actually Collegiate 100. We did a lot of programs to work with them. Qwen at the time was the vice president when he was still an undergrad, and we did some work with Collegiate 100.
I would say also too, so we're trying to take that step in that direction, right? So what we're doing is we partner with the College of Education. We're kind of co-sponsoring the event. We're bringing, I think we have like 75 Black students, Black males that want to come to campus now. So we're going to give them a tour of campus. And we reached out to NPHC. So we reached out to all the different organizations and we're partnering with them. And they're going to come, they're going to stroll and stuff, but we're going to also give them that activity to sit down and to engage with the students, right? So they can talk about their experiences at NC State. They can talk about some of the things they've seen and struggle with. They can talk about, what's good about NC State, why you want to be here. So we want to provide the chance, they can have that social activity and have fun and get to know each other and build that community, but we also want to make sure that they know coming in, these are some things to be aware of, these are some things you're going to love, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm an advocate for these children, and I wanted to, we have social services right here, not just social services. So if you give us some work to do, something in front of us, give us some ownership for it, we'll definitely propel it because have our things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the difficulty with that to this point, and so one of our members is actually recently a part of, he just joined Omega Sci-Fi. He just was introduced as a member last semester, and so I think we are at the beginning stages of this. To this point, we haven't really been, we really struggled in terms of making some of those connections, and partly some of the reasons why those connections were difficult to make is that on NC State's campus, we talked about some of the demographic information, right? So just imagine how difficult it is for some of those organizations to sustain when you only have 6.8% of the student enrollment is African American, and that's male and female. So just imagine how difficult it is for some of those organizations to sustain, and the commitment to do something else in addition to them trying to boost their membership up can sometimes be difficult, where they have to focus on let's boost our membership up first, and then let's reach out and develop these partnerships. So that desire is definitely there. It's just more so just work making it mutually happen, and one, so that one doesn't come at the expense of the other. So we don't want them to be so involved with us that their membership falls off, because that's not good for our members, nor is that good for their organization. So we definitely appreciate that.
One more question. How do you plan to, with these students that are selected and out in this area together, hold them accountable for participation throughout the year? Is there a plan for that, or is it just they're going to live there and they choose to do the system?
Yeah, well, they'll sign some type of learning village agreement. It says they'll attend this number of programs a month. They'll be at these programs and different things like that. We also have had discussion about our high impact trips. So I talked about the Atlanta trip, and that trip sounds pretty cool, right? That trip was completely funded by us, and with the help of our IRC, which is our RHA on campus, and so they helped us fund that trip to a very minimal cost for the students. Really, the only thing that they had to bring was any spending money that they wanted to use, and so some of them got stuff from Morehouse and different things like that. So those trips are privileges, right? They are not rights, and so we find that members are having a hard time with participation, and we've done our due diligence in terms of supporting them. That may potentially be another way, but we'll have to discuss that. I don't think that really kicking them out of the community will be something that we'll look at, but we'll definitely look at other options in terms of holding them accountable. But that agreement will be the first way that we look at holding them accountable. And then we'll look at those other measures if needed.
We do want to say that, I'm sorry.
I was just asking, I know it started out specifically in Haven, as the program has developed, has it been opened up to students who live elsewhere? And as a follow-up, then how important do you think these people being in the same physical community has been to the success of this program, as opposed to being more campus-wide?
So originally it did start out at Avon Ferry. I think the way we've sought out to engage other males across campus is specifically by the partnerships that we're hoping to do. So we've co-sponsored programs with different organizations on campus. We're seeking to develop those relationships, but right now, as long as the initiative is still in Avon Ferry, we're hoping the students do have to live in Avon Ferry to be a part of it. But we open it up to campus by partnering with different organizations and things like that to give other Black males the opportunity to be exposed to the program and different things like that. So because it's a live and learning village, we piloted it as that they have to live in the community in order to be a part of it. But our partnerships in terms of our programs or workshops that we offer exposes and opens it up to the rest of campus. And so with any village or live and learning community, like if a department decides like this community is better served somewhere else, then we'll roll with that. But for the meantime, I would say Avon Ferry students will have to be in Avon Ferry to be members, but we'll seek those to engage others through our partnerships. So we do want to provide a couple of minutes because we're in close proximity to our campus, we have the pleasure and honor of having a couple of our students here. And so we just want to give them a couple minutes to be able to talk to you all about their experience in the initiative and the impact that it's had on them. So I'm going to give the floor to Javon first, and then he'll transition and they'll talk about their experience.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Javon Hodge. I'm a senior communication student, double major in graphic design next semester. I got hired by Tyris as an RA at Avon Ferry. So Qwen's my boss, and CJ my boss, and his boss. And I'm his RA, so there's like a chain of command going on. So Tyris introduced me to African American Male Initiative, and me coming from a community college, I always had this drive just to finish school and start my career. But I never really thought about like extracurricular activities on campus. So when Tyris introduced this to me, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of step outside my box and kind of like learn more about my Black culture. So it was a fun experience. I spent a lot of time with my guys and my friends. It was kind of like a seed to what it became now. So as the seed getting planted over at ACUHO-I, it became somewhat personal to me. Builds a lot of camaraderie. We have a brotherhood. It's like I learned a lot about my Black culture, especially going to the Atlanta trip. That was like one of my biggest experiences. I think so many times on the trip because I've never actually been to an HBCU. So going to Morehouse and Spelman was like the best of the best, I would say. So having the opportunity all together was like really eye-opening. So I'm looking forward to a lot of things in the future, especially being with the Boys and Girls Club, because I'm a product of the Boys and Girls Club. Kind of introduced that idea to them, and they kind of ran with it. I'm glad they did. Hopefully, we can continue partnering up with them. I'm hoping we should probably start some stuff in March, help more activities and homework and academic meetings or anything they may need. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and answer it.
I'm Joshua Leary. I'm a sophomore in textile engineering. I'm also the student mentor for BMI. I came to this program my freshman year. I actually got the letter that they sent home. I thought it was really interesting. And so like I was always hearing coming into college, like you should really get involved. So since that was the first thing I saw, that was the first thing I took a part of. And that also led into my position as a student mentor because I love the program. I got a lot out of it my first year. And I wanted to kind of give back to the program, help others get like similar experience that I had. So are there any questions?
Questions? None? None at all? Well, I wanted to say I also do a lot of advertising for BMI too. Flyers, we're planning on like making t-shirts next year. Marketing, anything related. So it's something not to kind of like get my feet wet in that profession.
So
There are some of our references. I got questions.
I just wanted to say that, because I'm training, when I get my Black History program up and running, most of my students actually stay on the Hillsborough and work in departments. The rallies will be next year, and I would love to do some partnerships immediately, and I can learn to see that we also can integrate people on the same type of mission. I mean, at least, I think that will.
Yeah, so I have a friend who goes to play soccer for the team, and I think that would be good for him to be part of something like that.
J-Rock?
Rodney? Yeah, Rodney. Yeah. I don't know if he made a nickname yet, but yeah, his name is Rodney. So it'd be pretty cool, you know, for him to be a part of that initiative. I actually have some friends who actually live at 8th Fair, but they moved off campus. They're trying to come back to kind of like be a part of BMI, even though they don't live off, so they don't live on 8th Fair campus. But we're working on some things that make it more integrated and kind of expand our branches. So,
Did you say that you were brought in as an RA? Were you a part of the program as a freshman? No.
oh no, I actually lived on I lived on the north, which is like on the opposite side of the ferry. So once I came over as an RA, Tyris was like, look, we got this program after marriage initiative. Really good in it. I was like, sure, why not? Became a part of it. I loved it. You know, the minds.
The first quote that we showed you, Joe, he was the original, I call him the Fab Five, the five that I took to Washington, D.C. He was the original member. He was a sophomore when we started, and then he integrated and became an RA. Now he's like the administrative coordinator, so like the head RA on staff now. So he's my boss.
You have questions? So this is the beginning. You know, usually people end a presentation by saying the end, but this is only the beginning of where we're going to go. So, I mean, definitely look out for us if you have any questions. If you walk away from the presentation and realize that you had a question that you didn't get answered today, by all means, feel free to reach out to either one of us. Even though Ty doesn't work at NC State anymore, and we're sad for that. Sad about that, but he's still very knowledgeable in the program, and he still is connected with the program by coming down sometimes, playing ping pong and all of that stuff. So he's still connected with the program. So if you have any questions about the program, feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank y'all.
Awesome.